In Ronald Reagan's first speech as president in 1981, he famously said, "In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem." Before 1984, American television stations were closely regulated, and the promotion of any product within the body of opus was forbidden by the Federal Communications Commission. All that changed under the Reagan administration in 1984, when children's television was deregulated as part of a wider bid to boost the American economy. Around this time, a Japanese toy company called Takaratomi was enjoying success in Japan with several lines of transforming robot toys, including Diaclone Macroman spying opportunities planted to with new to rave by Mag Aaron Pipe Rico Pavadu Road Private Tabu Tarabundum Tagabel Proposed Line Pabo Bob Rupa Road Below by Well Below Road by I Below Till Road by the Luby Till Road Lose a Lu Till I Road to I Rules dealing. I know it loses a term. Other so far ruling. Fire road, do boy well. Finally, the well. Other wood, the rule, treasury well. I do the wheel, I do the deal, roll, well. I am, I do Although the quality of children's television of this era is notoriously low, if not extremely high on camp, you tintongue dolt. I am talking about me patience, not me body. Amazing. A booby trap that actually catches boobies. Just what everybody needs, a magical Iceland holiday. I could write a book about what you don't to know. You disgust me. Hey man, are you all right? Just mussed my hair. The effects of this change in regulation laws and media targeting children reverberates to this day. Children's programming is only put into production with a mind to how well it will sell merchandise. And yes, we can consider a toy, a cartoon, a comic, a whatever a piece of art. The Transformers was most definitely art. You are either lying or you stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. But that piece of artist is still used primarily for the calculated push towards profit maximization. The trend since that deregulation in the mid-1980s has seen the profits of these giant corporations go more and more to the top one of earners. Income inequality was a reality in the mid-80s. It is a much bigger reality now. And if we live in a capitalist society where wealth equals power, and the way wealth is distributed and who controls the means of production, then what gets made and consumed, especially media that targets children who are not yet old enough to question power structures, is an important question. Who controls the means of production? Who benefits from that control? Some might even say it is in the best interest of the masses to seize the means of production. Oh boy, I don't play. 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 Today we re-talking about Transformers, Marxism, and film theory. The least complicated topic I've ever decided to tackle. Sweet Jesus, why did I choose this? Marxism. That topic you think you know about because certain YouTube intellectuals screaming about how Marxism is directly opposed to Western values is so hot right now. So at the risk of pissing everyone off, both on the right and on the left, I'll preface by admitting that I am not an expert on Marxist critical theory. I have an MPhil in film and television, not aft in derrida studies. But I know enough about Marxism to know that it's really too complex a theoretical framework to satisfactorily scratch the surface in a 15-minute, 20-minute YouTube video about transformers and film theory. But this is a survey, not a comprehensive lecture. So, not a comprehensive lecture. A Where do we start? The barest bones reduction of classical Marxism is that capitalism is bad because it's exploitative, because a portion of the value that the worker creates goes to the owner. In America, a huge portion. Therefore, the worker is not paid the full value of her work. But Marxism is also highly concerned with the masses, how information is disseminated, how values are shaped, who shapes them, who has the power, and ultimately how groups of people are controlled and coerced into buying into this unjust system. This makes Marxist theoretical frameworks particularly of interest to film theorists and especially relevant to the Transformers movies. We'll get to that. One popular misconception is conflating Marxism with communism. Well, technically communism is the inevitable outcome of Marxism, so it's sort of a distinction without a difference. Well, I get that. But what I mean is, in America, when people hear the word communism, they usually think of the totalitarian brand exemplified by Stalin. Well, like I said, I'm no expert, so go ahead, school me. Well, it's true that there's a Western tradition of Marxist theory that's more academic than revolutionary. You've got your Hegelian Marxists, your Freudian Marxists, your critical theorists, your situationists, your Marxist humanists, your analytic Marxists, your postmodern new Marxists. You know, you gotta read Kojève, Benjamin, Marcuse, Althusser, Lux, Gramsci, Ransire. You have read Ransire, haven't you? Totally. An undergrad. So moving on, Marxism and Stalinism are not the same thing, but this is a useful opportunity to delve into the difference between theory and praxis. Marxism is a form of theory. Theory is the thought framework, a means of interpretation, and in this context, a means of predicting sociological trends and interpreting them. Praxis is the real-world execution of that theory. In this case, usually it would be activism. For instance, enacting the ideology of Stalinism in the real world is a form of praxis, not a good one. Good. There are those who defend it, but we are not going to go there. So giving a Marxist reading on any given text is de facto incomplete, as there are many Marxist schools of thought, just as there are many feminist schools of thought. Marxists disagree with each other constantly, believe it or not. So to keep this simple, we are going to pick the framework of a Marxist theoretical theorist who is very important and just go with that. Let's spin the wheel of Marxist discourse. Who's it gonna be? Who's gonna tell us how to interpret the transformers? Okay, Adorno, good enough. Max Horkheimer and Theodor Adorno were members of the Frankfurt School, which was associated in part with the Institute for Social Research at the Goethe University Frankfurt. And ultimately, we today might consider them the daddies of critical theory. They were far ahead of their time in that they saw media as a potential lens to culture, how cultures develop, self-reflect, and propagate values, ideas that wouldn't take hold in mainstream academia and critical studies until the 1960s and 70s, largely thanks to the works of these gives. Adorno was the most pessimistic, so it's a good thing we chose him. I ate the whole plate. Sam, I gotta run. Ye. Deep Wong. Deep Wong. You not getting it. Say my name. Say my name. You want those new teeth you saw in Skymall. It's me dream. The whole plate. For Adorno, film was too close to mass culture, and its spectators were in turn too close to it, too integrated to its effects and manipulations. With Horkheimer, Adorno produced the blistering dialectic of enlightenment in 1944 after they fled to the US, pinning a devastating indictment on the integration of film into capitalist industrial production and consumption into what Adorno and Horkheimer describe as the culture industry. According to Adorno and Horkheimer, all mass culture under monopoly is identical, and the contours of its skeleton, the conceptual armature fabricated by monopoly, are beginning to stand out. The truth that they are nothing but business is used as an ideology to legitimize the trash they intentionally produce. A jazz musician who has to play a piece of serious music, Beethoven's simplest minuet, in volunteer wait a minute. Why does this guy hate jazz so much? Anyway, moving on. Adorno saw film as almost analogous to the way Marx saw religion, what he famously called the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world and the soul of a soulless condition. It is the opium of the people. Adorno saw the film industry as a mass-organized machine designed to solve the masses and to keep them obedient. According to Adorno and Horkheimer, amusement always means putting things out of mind, forgetting suffering, even when it's on display. At its root is powerlessness. It is indeed escape, but not, as it claims, escape from bad reality, but from the last thought of resisting that reality. Existence in late capitalism is a permanent rite of initiation. Everyone must show that they identify wholeheartedly with the power which beats them. This is inherent in the principle of syncopation and jazz, which mocks the act of stumbling while elevating it to the "okay, dude." In effect, late-stage capitalism is sad, and a part of the media industrial complex function is to provide a distraction from the fact that you are fundamentally being exploited. So we watch Transformers, movies which nobody likes but pings that nostalgia center of your brain just enough that it distracts you from the void for approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes, depending on which one you re-watching. And that is the culture industry. An important aspect of the escapism provided by the culture industry is the representation of the self, the audience member both elevated and denigrated in the form of the leading man, i.e. Sam Witwicky. I'm not talking to you for 10 seconds. You have 3 seconds left. You know what. You can give me the silent treatment all you want. And Cade Yeager. Hey, you know, there's a reward for turning you in. Really? Yeah. Cool. You want to get punched in the face like really hard. The ideology does, it is true, make life initially easier for the spectators. They are assured that they do not need to be in any way other than they are, and that they can succeed just as well without having to perform tasks of which they know themselves incapable. At the same time, they are given the hint that the effort would not help them in any case, because even bourgeois success no longer has any connection to the calculable effect of their own work. Because of his ubiquity, the film star with whom one is supposed to fall in love is from the start a copy of himself. Every tenor now sounds like a Caruso record, and the natural faces of Texas girls already resemble those of the established models by which they would be typecast in Hollywood. What is repeated is healthy, the cycle in nature, as in the industry. The same babies grin endlessly from magazines, and endlessly the jazz machine pounds. Okay, we redone here. That's enough theoretical framework from Theodore Adorno, hater of jazz. I'm gonna do me own damn Marxist reading. First, let's ignore the culture industry, i.e. the forces that went into the creation of the text, and talk about what's in the text itself. Interpreting text is the most basic form of film studies and mostly ignores other influences, i.e. real-world markets that may have led to the thing existing in the first place. This is simply the study of the text. Bumblebee peeing on John Turturro is a part of the text. It is a thing that happens in the story, independent of all things that went into the creation of the text. The character of Bumblebee hears what Agent Turturro says. There be to though here Brave now, all of a sudden, with his big alien friend standing over there. decides he needs to be put in his place, and pees on him. I am sorry lubricates him, and swivels his little robot hips as he does so. This is all text. So, what does the text have to say about capitalism? While on the whole the series remains uninterested in a critic of capitalism, there are parts of the text that are strangely anti-capitalist, and this is actually a major trend in Hollywood movies, where the villains are capitalists, in spite of the fact that Hollywood as a system is a monopoly capitalist's sweet dream. I drink your milkshake. Transformers 4 frames Cade Yeager as a down on his luck inventor. I'm an inventor. He is an entrepreneur, but appears to work off a barter system. Contrast him with Stanley Tucci's character Joshua Joyce in Transformers 4. Transformium. That's what we recalling it. Focus group. Catchy. Trademarked. Not, of course, to be confused with Stanley Tucci's portrayal of Merlin in Transformers 5. Oh God, I'm sozzled. One last nip. Joyce is a thinly veiled Steve Jobs-like whose methods are inherently exploitative. Programmable matter. And now we've mapped its genome. Now you've mapped its genome. And I was in charge of autopsy duty. No union, no benefits, no nothing. He steals technology that is not his. And moreover, he steals technology from the dead bodies of Transformers. This is not legal. This is illegal experimentation. And not just Decepticons, either. The movie goes out of its way to show that the medic Ratchet from the first movie, you know, the guy that said this, the boy's pheromone levels suggest he wants to mate with the female, is having his corpse vandalized. They remelting Ratchet. And that Optimus Prime is really mad about this. They slaughtered Ratchet. I'm gonna tear them apart. In the very same scene where we are getting to learn of Steve Jobs' exploitative villainy. Boom, product placement. You like music. The pill. And the ironic thing about Age of Extinction, the one text of the 5 movies that is most critical of capitalism, is also the most explicit in its product placement. Insurance. It's a freaking spaceship. It's your car. Oh, but there is another form of product placement in these films that would also be of interest to the attentive Marxist. See, the attentive Marxist is less interested in the text itself than in the function of the text. What values is it encouraging? What is it trying to sell you? And the answer to that is, of course, much more than meets the sorry. The answer is much more complex than a series of films designed to sell toys and place products. And that is where the aesthetics of advertising comes in. If the primary intent of these films was to sell product and elevate brand name recognition, namely, of the Transformers toy line, then Michael Bay was the perfect choice to direct these 5 movies for a variety of reasons. The first being his history as a director of commercials and music videos. Commercials as advertisements for products. You know, it's pretty good beer. And music videos being advertisements for albums. Both are pieces of art unto themselves. Bay's iconic Got Milk commercial from the 90s is remembered for a reason. From the I am sorry. Maybe next time. But these are pieces of art whose mere existence is dependent on their function as advertising. So, to bring it back around to Professor Jazz Hater, that is the triumph of advertising in the culture industry. The compulsive imitation by consumers of cultural commodities, which at the same time they recognize as false. But Bay is advertising far more than just toys with these films. Hollywood has long held a mutually beneficial relationship with the Pentagon, in which the Department of Defense provides information and equipment to certain productions provided that they effectively function as a taxpayer-subsidized military recruitment ad. Not all Hollywood films make the cut. The Avengers was famously denied these subsidies when the text was not deemed by the Pentagon as, shall we say, helpful to their recruitment efforts. According to academic Toby Miller, as for propaganda, the state and the film industry have often worked together. In the embarrassingly macho language of the U.S. political science, the media represents soft power to match the hard power of the military and the economy. The military offering their equipment, time, and manpower is nothing new. What is new is the type of movie they lend their resources to. No longer are the biggest projects real-life stories about soldiers and heroism. Now they just as often involve an alien invasion, with a military subplot thrown in as an afterthought, an advertisement even, which are then later tied in with a literal recruitment campaign. Recent high-profile examples include the Transformers movies, Man of Steel, and Independence Day Resurgence. Yeah, that went well. Transformers movies use the cinematic language of capitalism both to safely critique a fictionalized brand of capitalism, the girly, effete, non-manly Steve Jobs kind tactical nuke. Lol. Oh me God, while using that same language to actually promote the state's agenda. And one more important note about Tuxie's character. He exploits dead Autobots innocently, but only with encouragement from corrupt government agencies. In fact, Tuxie is redeemed at the end, despite his misdeeds, where the real bad guy, a government agent played by Kelsey, yep, he's here too, Grammar, and founder of Sia faction Cemetery Wind, is shot in the back by Optimus Prime, our hero. In the end, in the words of Ronald Reagan, government is not the solution to our problem. Sometimes it is in the interest of the state to push this ideology, and the Transformers movies have been all too eager to oblige. So, I want to bring it back around to Professor Jazz Hater for a minute. You like jazz? Normally, I wouldn't feel the need to explain this, but this is a series for YouTube, not for the classroom. When one explains a theoretical framework and applies it to a text, that isn't necessarily the same thing as agreeing with that framework. It's just showing that you understand it. I say this because I don't want me interpreting Adorno's position for Transformers to mean that I think that all products of the culture industry are meaningless and exist to cram some fleeting complacence in your life so you don't get utterly sucked into the void. If that was true, then how could I possibly justify all these star screams I seem to own? It makes me happy. But there is a big problem in nerd communities with coming to terms with the fact that a product they kind of love only exists for gross, hyper-capitalistic, Reagan-y reasons. Personally, I do not care. I buy my star screams, I read me comics, and I can still talk about the fact that this series only exists due to deregulation designed to target children and benefit big businesses. I personally do not ascribe to Adorno's black and white worldview that the culture industry produces only trash and you only stuff your face with it because you are trying to fill a bottomless emptiness with no name. With it because and you sayo Balio, To concede to this viewpoint is to posit that Hollywood is incapable of producing art with any sort of meaning, and that's just not opposition I can get behind. Plus, I just don't think I can trust the taste of a guy who hates jazz that much. But, and this is if you ignore Bay's movies, which do, I think, fit into Adorno's definition of trash, it is also not fair to say that nothing good or artistic has not come from this franchise, despite its origins as a marketing tool to sell toys. No, the products of the culture industry are hollow and meaningless. Smash. Hey Tabby, do you like jazz? Yeah, that's what I thought. You like jazz.